Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Orphanlast, aka Skylar Madison, and today we're going to go ahead and continue where we left off in the Teach Me to Draw series. Now, in the previous video, what we covered was how to split an area up into fourths.
And just to recap really quick here,
You do that by drawing out an area as is represented with a square inside of perspective. And then you find center by drawing an X. Now, this isn't always the only way how you find center. If you've already found center, then there's another way to find center in a different direction. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'll get into that eventually. But basically, yeah, you find center, and then you can either draw the arrows, or you can go ahead and draw an X here to the right of center, and then draw another X to the left of center, okay? And what you're trying to pay attention to when you're trying to find 1/4 is you're trying to pay attention, instead of to the arrows, which will lead to the collinear intersections, is you're trying to look for this diamond shape. And to the right of the diamond shape, it tells you where 1/4 is, okay? Or at least that's to a right angle to the center, okay, of the diamond, if I'm making sense. But basically, you just go ahead and draw out right here, and you have 1/4. And that's awesome. So what good does this do us?
How do we even use this in a practical way?
Well, let's go ahead and create a vanishing point, and let's take a look here, alright? Now, let's suppose you need to draw out a staircase, alright? Well, okay, let's go ahead and draw out an area down here. Let's make this larger. There's no sense in making this small, okay? Let's go ahead and draw out an area, alright? And then let's go ahead and draw out an area below this really quick here, alright? So we just use the vanishing point to go ahead and draw out an area down below.
Okay, awesome.
Now, what I want to do is I want to make a staircase. Now, regardless of if you're drawing a staircase with 4 steps or with 1,000 steps, it's pretty much a similar workflow.
of course, if you have 1,000 steps, you'd probably just shortcut the situation.
But you get the point. So we're going to go ahead and find 1/4 on this area, and we're going to go ahead and find 1/4 on this area as well. So we found our centers. So we go ahead and draw out our line of center. Draw an X to find 1/4. Draw our 1/4 line. Draw an X to find the other fourth. This is the 3/4 line. And then draw out an X on the other area. Draw out our 1/4 line. Draw another X to find the 3/4 line. So one of the most tricky things about drawing in perspective is sometimes your logic in how everything should come together can be perfect. However, your logic in terms of what lines you draw first can sometimes throw off your measurements. So just be aware of that. Your logic can be spot on as to how to create something, but the lines that you draw and the order in which you draw those lines, it can throw off your measurements. So if things aren't going very well for you, just try drawing the lines in a different order. Match things up, make sure different measurements are working first before you make the overall entirety of the image work perfectly. Sometimes the order of your lines don't even matter. But yeah, I've gone ahead and sped this little process up right here at 2 times speed so that hopefully you guys can actually see what it is that I'm doing here. The blue lines represent my sketch. My red lines represent, well, basically all of my measurements. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do really quick, really soon here, is I go ahead and lower the opacity, I believe, of the red and blue lines just a little bit, and then I go ahead and create a new layer, and I don't do anything with it, so my lines appear black. Technically speaking, all of these lines are black. It's just that one of the channels has been deactivated. The colors on a computer are generated by a mixture of red, green, and blue lines. And so when I deactivate a red channel, then the whole image becomes red. When I deactivate the blue channel, the whole image becomes blue. I believe that's how it works, but I don't have the knowledge as to how to look under the hood of the software, so that's at least how I understand it. I might be having it completely backwards, but the general idea is kind of on point, I believe. But yeah, here I'm finishing up the line work pretty soon here, and you'll be able to see I created a staircase, and this is how. Typically you would go this long route if it's just a few steps and it's pretty close in view. But generally you want to keep things well in measurement. Alright, now we could just deactivate the blue and red layer, and there we have it. We have a staircase. So what we're going to talk about today, though, the main topic of discussion for today, is going to be about how to measure two objects away from each other, okay? So let me explain what I mean. Let me go ahead and get rid of the vanishing point for right now, okay? I'm gonna create a new layer, and I'm just gonna color it red just for the sake of having a red layer, I guess. Okay? Okay, we have an area. Let's say we want to have another box the exact same size right next to it, okay? Bear with me, you may not see the practical purpose for this, but in the next video, you're going to see it. But in this video, I'm just going to draw this out, and I want you to kind of just think about how you might be able to use this throughout the week before I go about and spill the beans. So in order to find out how to get another box the same length right there, what we need to do, you know what, let me go ahead and create a blue layer. Okay, so with the blue layer, what we need to do is, in order to find out where that other box is and how big it needs to be, we need to find center, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and draw a blue line at the bottom, and we're going to draw a blue line at the top, okay? And now we're going to draw a line that goes right through the center. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw a line that goes from here to the center and the edge of the red area, okay? And what that's going to do is it's going to land on a position about right here-ish, and that'll give us the distance that we need to travel, or at least the measurement that we need to travel. Alright, excellent. So this right here is the exact same sized area as this right here. Isn't that interesting? So if we wanted to do that again, we don't need to draw another X. We already have the center. We drew the X. We could actually find the center. That's the reason why we drew it. So since we already have the center, all we have to do in order to create another one of these is go like that. All right? And we have yet another one. Isn't that interesting? So let's say that in three-dimensional space, if we were drawing this in three-dimensional space with the vanishing point and stuff, let's say we wanted another building the same size as, let's say this is a building right here, okay? This area that we drew out initially, that right there is a building. And let's say we want another building right here, but we want it to be at a predictable distance in between the two. Something that we might be able to measure from one building to the other, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and go like that. Alright, so we have the full distance of the square of our area, right? Well, the thing is in order for me to have a predictable measurement there, I need to divide it either into thirds or into fourths, or even smaller than that, depending on what I want. But just for the sake of this video, I'm just going to do 1/4. Okay, so I'm going to split it 1/4 right here, and I'm going to split it 1/4 right here. Awesome. Okay, now since I'm taking away 1/4 of this square, I want to make sure that I don't wind up just leaving it that way. So I'm just going to go to the 1/4 mark here, and I'm going to create the rest of my area that I need. Okay, so I'm going to lower the opacity on my blue layer so that you guys can see what's going on here. So I grab my red layer, and I'm able to go like that. This is why math is important inside of perspective, and trying to remember whether or not you've split something up into thirds or into fourths, so that you're able to draw things uniformly and get the proportions correct. Proportions are key in drawing in perspective, or in drawing in general. So, I'm going to go ahead and draw out this symbol for measuring distances, okay? Now, this image that I'm about to make for you guys, it's inspired by the Pink Floyd album cover that's super iconic. It has the image of the prism, and some of the reason why it's inspired by that is because I'm showing a fact. The Pink Floyd album cover, it's showing an actual scientific theory with color theory and everything with that album cover. And in a way, I'm doing the exact same thing. It's a mathematical fact, I guess, with lineal geometry. And so it's an image that's sort of in the same vein, same topic, same genre, if you get what I mean. And so that's some of the reason why I'm really attached to this particular image that I'm about to make for you guys. And I'm pretty happy with it. I've had this image in my mind ever since I started making this series within a series, where I'm giving you guys the perspective symbols and mathematical formulas, basically, in order to make a professional image. Now, I wanted this video to be a little bit different from my previous videos of this kind, showing you guys perspective symbols and such. I wanted it to show a different kind of perspective symbol, because being able to measure the distance away from an area is every bit as important as being able to split an area up in even and odd numbers, being able to understand how to do that. Now, with this right here, this symbol and the other two symbols that I've already shown you guys, with splitting up an area into fourths and splitting an area into thirds, you actually have everything that you need right now in order to make a professional image in perspective. You don't need to know all the bells and whistles in order to be able to make a professional looking background. I'm totally serious with that. It's only been actually until recently that I was able to find out how to measure an area into thirds. So a lot of the images that you've seen on my channel where I've been drawing backgrounds, I've only been measuring in even numbers. It was a bit of a pain in the butt trying to get it to work out that way. And so here on the screen right now, you can actually see me creating the mathematical shape, and I created the distance away from the area, the red area, and I just went ahead and placed my mascot there. I also wanted to kind of show that this symbol can be used as it goes off towards a vanishing point with this image that I'm providing for you guys. And I had to rework some of the composition a little bit. Sometimes when you have an image just sitting in your mind for weeks and weeks, you don't even, you're not literally looking at the image. You're admiring the idea of an image. And then once you actually create the image, not just the idea of the image, the composition has to be adjusted. And so that's what I did here. And, you know, it wound up being really simplistic and such, but I think this is every bit as iconic as the Pink Floyd cover. Yeah, it has my mascot duplicated multiple times, but that's kind of the point, so that you can see what it does. Now here I decided to kind of experiment with the you know, the letter forms and stuff like that, see how far I could go about altering them and such like that. It's a cool idea and I want to do it, and I started to add these little microchip looking designs on it, but it got me to think, what does this have to do with measuring an extended distance away from an area? That's kind of stupid. So I just decided to kind of keep it simple and just
keep it simple. That's all that I really needed to do, and it wound up coming out pretty good, I feel. Sometimes the simplest appearance is the best thing. Sometimes trying to go complex or more and more detailed destroys a composition rather than makes it better. Sometimes less is more. And you can see the final image right here and what it does and everything. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Anyways, guys, that pretty much concludes it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And if you guys would like to get more notifications from me, feel free to click on the bell or go ahead and follow me on Twitter. Link is supplied in the video description below. You can contact me there if you want me to do a commission. And if you guys would like to see more of my content, feel free to click on anything appearing on the screen right now. Thank you very much for your time.